we are going to talk a little bit about the teachings of Lu Tai Zhang or Lu Tai Zhang. Now, we know that the followers of Lu Tai Zhang, they usually talk about him with great enthusiasm. There are 2 points. Firstly is that Lu Tai Zhang's little house, or they call it 小房子 in Mandarin, is very efficacious. The second point is that Lu Tai Zhang is a very seasoned Dharma talker, particularly of Mahayana Buddhism. Let's examine these 2 aspects. First of all, what is this 小房子 or little house? In fact, what it is use an A4 size paper, must be a yellow piece of paper, according to Lu Tai Zhang, that you make a small drawing of a small house, a little house, on the piece of paper, and then with 247 small circles inside it. You must use a black or blue pen to write the names of the sutra reader, also called the sutra seeker on the other hand. And you must recite the Great Compassion Mantra or Dabeizhou, the Heart Sutra, Xingjing, and the Amitabha Pure Land Rebirth Mantra, Wang Shenzhou, etc. All in all, these mantra and sutra, you must recite them 247 times. Therefore, there are 247 small circles. Now, upon completing each recitation, you have got to make a red dot inside the small circle. And according to Lu Tai Zhang, you must just make a small dot. It mustn't be a cross. It mustn't be a tick. That's what he said. When all the 247 circles have been dotted, then you must burn the little house in a particular way. And remember, do not use a metallic container in the whole process. So these are some of the so-called rules and regulations of little house. Now, surely the Great Compassion Mantra, the Heart Sutra, and the Amitabha Pure Land Rebirth Mantra, they are Buddhist. No doubt about it. But on the other hand, the so-called superstitious rules set by Lu Tai Zhang, they were just artificially invented by him. There's no basis. You cannot find any Buddhist scripture that talk about this little house. And you cannot find any Buddhist master that endorses his method. Of course, we Buddhists are taught to recite the Great Compassion Mantra, Dabeizhou, and the Heart Sutra faithfully and sincerely. So there's this very critical question. Why can't followers of Lu Tai Zhang do the same? Surely if the recitation of mantra and sutra is done with deep devotion and with the right conditions, it may result in miraculous blessings. For example, some karmic sickness which doctors fail to diagnose or find it difficult to provide effective prescription suddenly get cured. So these are some of the miracles that could happen. But such miracles that result from the blessings of Buddha or Bodhisattvas definitely is not the result of Lu Tai Zhang's blessings, nor the burning of little houses. So that is a big difference between the 2. Buddhists must be grateful. We Buddhists must be grateful. But it is most unwise for us to be beholden to a mistaken party. In this particular case, the mistaken party will be Lu Tai Zhang. If I can give you an analogy, if you look at the medicine, which is inside a capsule, of course, it consists of 2 parts. The capsule plus the medical powder inside the capsule. So together they form the medicine. The capsule is just the external wrapping. The capsule itself has no medical value. Now, the sutra or the mantra, they are just like the medical powder. And on the other hand, the yellow papers or the little house, they are just the external add-ons. Those external add-ons can be abandoned because they have no medical value. The sickness gets cured not because of the capsule, but because of the medical powder. Let's be abundantly clear. what we are talking about here. We have got to distance ourselves from Lu Tai Zhang and stop burning the so-called little houses. But on the other hand, we have got to continue the practice of reciting sutras and mantras. And of course, someone will also ask, Lu Tai Zhang's Dharma assemblies attracted thousands of people. Is it true? Oh, I must say true. But then you have got to realize the majority of those who attended his so-called Dharma assemblies, they were mainly foreigners coming from China, mainland China particularly. Now, if you recall, we know that the Cultural Revolution of China, which happened during the period 1966 and 1976, for 10 years, that Cultural Revolution almost uprooted and destroyed Buddhism in China. Because of that, nowadays, not that many Chinese really understand what Buddhism it is. And since 1979, because of the implementation of some new policies, that resulted in very rapid economic development in China. But on the other hand, the non-economic aspects were very much lagging behind. Such a lopsided imbalance created very unintended opportunities for pseudo-Buddhism to creep into the minds of the Chinese people. Therefore, over the last 10 years or so, we witnessed pseudo-Buddhist cults such as Falun Gong, Lu Tai Zhang, Jin Puti, the emergence of these cults in China. And we locals here must not follow the foreigners blindly. We should be able to differentiate between genuine Buddhism and pseudo-Buddhism. We obviously and definitely possess the kind of intelligence to do that. We know that Lu Tai Zhang's followers talk about the second point very enthusiastically, which is Lu Tai Zhang is a very seasoned and experienced Dharma speaker. Now let's look at two books written by Lu Tai Zhang and his followers. Firstly, is entitled Introduction to Guan Yin Citta Dharma Door. The second book is Buddhism in Plain Terms. Let's look at the first book. We will look at page 18, paragraph 3. Lu Tai Zhang warned his believers, it's best not to recite the Heart Sutra and Amitabha Pure Land Rebirth Mantra after 10 p.m. or during a heavy downpour, if there are also thunder and lightning. Now my question is this, which Buddhist temple here stops its recitation of the Heart Sutra or the Amitabha Pure Land Rebirth Mantra halfway, just because suddenly there's a heavy downpour? I don't think there's any Buddhist temple or any monastic has got that kind of practice. Look at the second book. It says that the Heart Sutra will be converted to hell currency at night time. And if you recite the Heart Sutra, many small demons or ghosts will appear and come to grab the hell currency. They will fight among themselves. Two questions arise. Firstly, will a right-thinking Buddhist view our Heart Sutra as hell currency? That is slanderous, is it not? And also, will any right-thinking followers of another religion have such blasphemous idea about their holy book? I don't think so. Particularly you say that you are a seasoned Mahayana Buddhist Dharma speaker. To make that kind of claim is most ridiculous and unbecoming. And also in the same book, Buddhism in Plain Terms, page 111, paragraph 1, it says this: in between hell and heaven, there are the realms of demons, animals, lower form of asuras, human beings, Saravaka, or higher forms of asura. That's what Lu Tai Zhang said. As well as the home-gazing platform, in Mandarin, Wang Xiang Tai, Bodhisattva and Buddha. So all in, there are 10 elements inside that statement, which consists of basically the so-called 10 Dharma realms of Buddhism. Now let's say that you travel from Singapore to Kuala Lumpur, meaning Singapore is your starting point and Kuala Lumpur is your destination. So Kuala Lumpur is on top of Singapore. So in between Singapore and Kuala Lumpur, there are various places such as Johor Bahru, Malacca, Seremban, right? So if we use the same argument to re-examine the statement of Lu Tai Zhang, he said that in between hell and heaven, there are the so-called home-gazing platform, Bodhisattva and Buddha. It means that Lu Tai Zhang considered heaven to be higher than the Buddha realm. Which Buddhists have this kind of silly idea? And secondly, Lu inserted an unheard of home-gazing platform, Wang Xiang Tai, into the 10 Dharma realms of Buddhism, which is ridiculous. And thirdly, Lu Tai Zhang downgraded Sravaka, meaning Arahant, to Asura, because he said that Sravaka is the same as Asura. Now, in Mandarin, Arahant and Asura, Alohan, Asiu, they sound very similar, but they are miles apart. How can you say they are equivalent? Any Buddhist Dharma who has some experience, we will not make that kind of simple, silly mistakes as listed just now. The above examples are just a handful of so-called innovative ideas of Lu Tai Zhang, and very much they challenge the core teachings of Buddhism. In fact, the list is rather long. Now, can a person who hardly understands the basic teachings, the fundamental teachings of Buddhism, be a seasoned Dharma propagator? This we have to ask ourselves. Of course, there are people who say that we have got to be compassionate. Therefore, do not criticize pseudo-Buddhist cults. Fair enough. Fair enough. But don't you think that we should be more compassionate to ordinary Buddhists who may become victims of pseudo-Buddhist cults? We should be more compassionate to Buddhists rather than pseudo-Buddhist cults. If you are too compassionate to the pseudo-Buddhist cults and you don't point out their mistakes, you are not compassionate to Buddhists because you allow them to become victims of those cults. Some locals have been misled into joining the ranks of these cults, and surely we should have empathy and compassion for them. We should empathize with them. Therefore, we should take a non-confrontational attitude towards them. We should in fact assist them to come back to the right path. Therefore, we would like to appeal to all of you out there to join us in this work. At the very least, please share and circulate what you have just seen and heard to your relatives and friends. Thank you very much.